They say you never really know the exact moment your life changes until it's too late to stop it. For me, it wasn't some big, dramatic blow-up. It was quiet, subtle, like a slow leak in a tire, until you're stuck on the side of the road wondering how you didn't see it coming. My name is Natalie Pierce, and for 12 years, I was married to a man everyone else adored, but I barely recognized anymore. I met Jordan at a July 4th barbecue in Columbia, South Carolina. He wore confidence, like a second skin. He was tall, witty, and the kind of charming that made waitresses blush. I was fresh out of nursing school, still unsure of who I was, but he made me feel seen, important even. We got married within a year. Everyone said it was fast, but I thought we had something real. At first, we were the golden couple, weekend brunches, vacations to Savannah, our wedding photo on the mantle, frozen in time. Then came our two beautiful kids, late-night feedings, scraped knees, and birthday cupcakes at school. But somewhere between bottles and bills, Jordan changed. He used to text me, "I love you," in the middle of the day. Now, he barely looked up from his phone when I walked in. Our conversations shrank into logistical lists, groceries, carpool schedules, mortgage dates. He stopped asking how my shifts went, even when I worked 12 hours on my feet in the ER. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I wasn't interesting anymore. Maybe the extra weight I'd gained after my second pregnancy made me invisible. Maybe I was too tired, too boring, too something. But then came the comments. "Are you really wearing that to dinner? No wonder you're always exhausted. You don't take care of yourself." I could have been with someone who understood my goals. They weren't screaming matches. They were slow, corrosive jabs, delivered with a smirk and followed by, "Relax, it's just a joke." But they didn't feel like jokes. They felt like little paper cuts to my soul. One night, after putting the kids to bed, I made his favorite chicken marsala from scratch. I even lit candles, hoping maybe we could reconnect. He walked in, took one look at the table and said, "You know I'm cutting carbs, right?" Then he microwaved a frozen meal and ate it on the couch while watching ESPN. I stood in that kitchen, staring at two untouched plates, and told myself it was just a rough patch. But the patches never ended. They turned into patterns. Jordan started working late. A lot. He kept his phone face down. Locked. He got secretive with money. When I asked about the strange charges or why he changed his passwords, he'd brush me off. "You're being paranoid," he'd say with a tired sigh. "God, Natalie, not everything is about you." He was right. It wasn't about me anymore. Nothing was. And still I stayed. I told myself it was for the kids. They needed a father. We had a mortgage. I couldn't afford to start over. Who would believe me anyway? He still smiled in public, still kissed my cheek in front of the neighbors. People thought we were perfect. But behind closed doors, I was shrinking. I stopped wearing makeup. Stopped texting friends back. I even skipped my cousin's wedding because I didn't want people asking how Jordan and I were doing. Then came the emotional games. He'd pick fights before family gatherings, so I'd arrive teary-eyed. He'd ignore me for days, only to suddenly cuddle up the night before his birthday, like affection was a transaction. He'd make me doubt my memory, question my feelings, apologize for things I didn't even do. The worst part? He was never physically violent. So there were no bruises to prove what he was doing to me. But bruises aren't always black and blue. Sometimes they're silent and invisible, like the feeling of flinching when your husband walks in the room. I remember one night, sitting in my car in the driveway for 45 minutes. The kids were inside. He was inside. But I didn't want to go in. I was afraid, not of being hit, but of being dismissed, belittled, ignored. And that's when I knew. This wasn't love anymore. It was control wrapped in convenience. He didn't need me. He just needed someone to do the laundry, manage the bills, raise the kids, cook the dinners, smile for the pictures. He needed an accessory, not a wife. Still, I stayed. Because I didn't have a plan. I didn't have savings. I didn't have the courage yet. But life has a way of giving you the final push when you least expect it. And mine came on a rainy Thursday evening, the night I found a hotel receipt in his coat pocket. That was the moment the Natalie he knew started slipping away. And the woman he'd regret losing began to wake up. They say when your heart breaks, it doesn't happen all at once. It cracks slowly in places no one can see. But for me, it shattered the night I reached into the pocket of Jordan's blazer while folding laundry and pulled out something that didn't belong. A receipt. $487.23 from the Charleston Harbor Resort and Marina. A weekend date. Spa services. Champagne. We hadn't been on a weekend getaway in over 4 years. Not since before our youngest was born. I just stood there, staring at the glossy slip of paper, my fingers trembling. My stomach twisted, but my brain was already making excuses. Maybe it was for a client. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe, God help me, maybe he was surprising me? But I knew better. Because the night of that charge, I remembered clearly I was home with both kids. Our youngest had a fever, and I stayed up holding him while Jordan texted me that he was buried in paperwork at the office. My legs gave out, and I sat on the edge of our bed, the receipt burning in my palm like proof I never wanted. My heart wasn't just broken, it was insulted. I waited until the kids were asleep before confronting him. He walked in around 11 p.m., reeking of cologne I didn't wear for him anymore. He looked surprised to see me up. "What's wrong?" he asked, casual, tossing his keys on the table. I held up the receipt. He looked at it, blinked, then, without hesitation, laughed. "Oh my God, Natalie. You really went through my pockets? What are you now, a detective?" "That's not an answer," I said, my voice calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that comes before a storm. He smirked and sat down like we were just having a debate over dinner plans. "Fine." I needed a break. A real one. From you, the kids, the constant noise. So yeah, I went. And I didn't go alone. The air in the room disappeared. My lungs forgot how to work. He kept going almost like he was proud. "She's young. Smart. Actually listens to me. Makes me feel like a man again. You just make me feel stuck." I think my soul left my body for a second. I remember staring at the wall behind him, not his face. If I looked at him, I might scream, or worse, cry. And I didn't want him to see me cry. Instead, I whispered, "Get out." He scoffed. "Where am I supposed to go?" "Anywhere that isn't here." He left. Just like that. No apology. No shame. No second thought. The next morning, I called a lawyer. But Jordan wasn't done with me yet. The same week I filed for divorce, he emptied our joint bank account. Left me $53. That's what 12 years of marriage and 2 kids boiled down to, 53 lousy dollars. I had to borrow gas money from my sister to get to work. I cried in the break room, feeling pathetic and trapped. The man who promised to protect me left me drowning, and I was supposed to stay quiet to keep the peace. But I didn't. Instead, I started documenting everything. I took screenshots of texts, copied bank statements, logged his absences from the kids' lives. Every petty insult, every skipped weekend, every lie, I kept it all. And still, I kept up the act. I smiled at school pickups. I sent friendly co-parenting texts. I wanted him to think I was weak, harmless. That way, he wouldn't see what was coming. But the final nail in the coffin, the moment that made me burn my wedding album and everything it stood for, came 2 months later. I'd finished an early shift and came home to grab a binder I forgot for court prep. I wasn't supposed to be home. Jordan was supposed to have the kids and bring them back by 6. But he was there. And he wasn't alone. I walked into our bedroom, and found him tangled in sheets with a woman who couldn't have been older than 21. They both screamed. I didn't. I stood there, frozen, watching her scramble to grab her tiny dress off the floor. She looked at me, wide-eyed, and whispered, "Ma'am, I didn't know." Ma'am. I wasn't even mad at her. I was mad at myself, for every time I swallowed my voice, for every night I cried in the bathroom, for every damn moment I gave this man a chance. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I just turned and walked out. That was the night I moved in with my sister. I packed the kids, our essentials, and left behind a man who thought he had me under his thumb forever. But what Jordan didn't know, What he couldn't possibly imagine was that while he was busy playing with fire, I was building the matchbook. And the day I signed those divorce papers, he would watch it all burn. Divorce court isn't like the movies. There's no dramatic music, no slamming gavels, no tearful confessions. Just fluorescent lights, tired attorneys, and the sound of lives unraveling on paper. But that day felt monumental to me. I wore my best blazer. Not because I wanted to impress anyone, but because I wanted to feel like someone again. I'd lost so much in that marriage, my voice, my confidence, my joy. I needed to wear something that reminded me I still had power, even if it was just a navy blue jacket from Marshall's. Jordan walked in 10 minutes late, sunglasses on, coffee in hand, like he was arriving at a brunch. His tie was crooked, and he was still texting someone, probably her. The intern. He didn't even look at me. Not once. But I looked at him. And for the first time in years, I felt nothing. No sadness. No bitterness. No jealousy. Just a strange sense of distance, like watching a stranger's life collapse from the safety of a window. My lawyer, Trina Carson, was fierce, sharp with her words, calm with her presence. Jordan's attorney was some cheap referral from a friend, because he'd blown most of his money trying to impress a college girl with trips, gifts, and a failed condo investment. As the hearing began, I sat still, quiet, while Trina pulled out the receipts, screenshots, bank statements, and detailed custody violations. She presented every missed pickup, every backhanded text message, every time he took money meant for the kids and spent it on luxury hotels or Uber rides to nowhere. Jordan tried to spin it, of course. Said I was manipulative, controlling, overreacting. The judge, a stern, no-nonsense woman in her 60s, didn't even blink. She reviewed everything silently. And when she spoke, her voice cut clean through the room. Mr. Pierce, this court sees a consistent pattern of neglect, financial recklessness, and emotional misconduct. I'm granting primary custody to Mrs. Pierce, effective immediately. She will retain the marital home, and you will pay monthly spousal and child support until further review. Jordan's face dropped, not in a dramatic, fall-to-his-knees way, but like a man who finally realized he'd been playing checkers while someone else had been building a chessboard. He opened his mouth, closed it, swallowed. And for the first time in years, he was the quiet one. When the judge asked if I was ready to finalize the paperwork, I nodded. My hand trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of finally being free. I signed the papers slowly, breathing in the moment. This was the end of our marriage, but also the beginning of my life. I thought that would be it. Clean break. No more contact except through lawyers or co-parenting updates. But Jordan wasn't done embarrassing himself. I had just walked into the courthouse parking lot, clutching the divorce decree like a fresh passport to freedom, when I heard my name. Natalie. Wait. I turned and there he was, sweating in his suit, face flushed, suddenly small, suddenly real. What? I asked, not angry, just tired. He came closer. Look, I messed up. I didn't know what I was doing. I was scared. We had kids so fast. Things changed. I made a mistake. We can fix this. I blinked. You cheated on me. Drained my bank account. Humiliated me. You don't get to play confused now. He looked down, then whispered the words I never thought I'd hear. I miss our family. That's when I finally understood what all of this had really been about. Not love. Not partnership. Control. Jordan didn't miss me. He missed owning me. So I took a breath and said, calm as ice, do you miss me, or do you miss being in charge? He looked stunned, like the wind had been knocked out of him. I don't miss sleeping next to a man I have to fear, I added. I don't miss shrinking every time I spoke. I don't miss living in a house that felt like a prison. His face twisted. He tried to smile, but even he knew it wouldn't land. You'll regret this, he muttered. I smiled, really smiled for the first time in what felt like forever. I already regretted staying, I said. But walking away? That I'll never regret. And I got into my car, put the decree in the passenger seat, drove home with the windows down and the music up. Because freedom doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes with silence. And the quiet was glorious. You'd think signing the divorce papers would have been the end. But for men like Jordan, consequences are just suggestions until they hit like a freight train. At first, he kept up the charm act. Texted me out of nowhere with little things like "the kids miss you" or "made your favorite playlist today." I ignored everyone, blocked his number, told him all communication had to go through the parenting app or the court mediator. I thought the judge's ruling, giving me the house, primary custody, and financial support, would humble him. It didn't. 2 months later, his payments were late. Then they stopped altogether. When I filed a report through the court, his excuse was laughable. I got laid off. But I'd already heard from a friend that he hadn't been laid off. He'd quit his job trying to dodge child support. Thought if he had no income on paper, he wouldn't have to pay. Smart, right? Except he forgot who he was dealing with. Remember when I said I started documenting everything during our separation? Every password I could remember, every email I ever saw him open, every shady thing he whispered when he thought I wasn't listening? Yeah. I didn't stop just because the ink dried on the divorce. While he was off playing broke, posting beach pics on Instagram with his little intern, I was putting pieces together. Turns out, Jordan wasn't just unemployed. He'd launched a side business under his new girlfriend's name, a marketing agency, helping influencers manage brand deals. He was charging clients thousands and pretending he had no income to avoid court obligations. He thought hiding behind her would keep him safe. So I made one call. Then 2. Then I sent screenshots, receipts, invoices linked to his Venmo, emails signed in his name, his voice on Zoom recordings where he very clearly pitched deals on behalf of their company. I handed everything over to my attorney and the family court. But I didn't stop there. I knew his girlfriend worked for a tech startup in Charleston, one that had strict HR guidelines about personal conduct and illegal business activity under someone else's name. I sent a polite, anonymous tip with proof. She was fired within a week. And Jordan? He got hauled back into court with a judge who wasn't playing anymore. He now owes back support, legal penalties, and interest. They put a lien on his car, froze one of his accounts, and warned him that jail time for non-payment was very real if he didn't comply. When I saw him that day in court, sweating through his cheap button-down, muttering under his breath, I didn't feel sorry for him. I felt vindicated. Because justice didn't come in a loud, dramatic scene. It came in steps. In planning. In patience. He once told me I was too soft. That I didn't have the guts to ever leave him, let alone beat him. But here's the truth. I didn't just walk away. I rebuilt. I survived. And I made sure he'd never forget the day he underestimated the woman he tried to break. Now, I've gone back to school, finishing my nurse practitioner program. The kids are thriving. There's laughter in the house again. Real laughter, not the kind you fake through gritted teeth. I sleep with both eyes closed now. And for the first time in over a decade, I look in the mirror and actually like the woman staring back. Jordan? He's still chasing shortcuts. Still blaming everyone else. Still trying to find someone to clean up the mess he made of his life. But that's not my problem anymore. I signed those divorce papers thinking I was closing a chapter. Turns out I was just getting to the good part. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Your support means everything. If this story touched you or made you think, please subscribe to our channel for more real, powerful stories.